Good afternoon to everyone present here. I am Ekta Saraswat and I welcome you all in the international webinar on role of education and management for sustaining through turbulent times, which is being organized by IPM group of institutions situated in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh, India. First and foremost, I would request all the participants to mute their mics and turn off their videos for the time being, so that we can have a proper session without any interruption. IPM Group of Institutions, it was founded by late Dr. B.S. Goel sir 25 years ago. The institute is flourishing for the past 25 years and has celebrated Silver Jubilee in this year only. Institute provides various courses in the field of management, information technology, education, law, etc. The institute has also achieved the Best Excellence Award in NCR region and has also been ranked as one of the emerging institutions in India by Competition Success Review. Moving on further information, we have certain upcoming conferences in the month of February and March, which are related with the webinar theme that is being organized today. The conferences are being organized and done in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center of MHRD, whose project head and joint director, Dr. Vimal Rar, is present with us today for a brief note. I would like Dr. Vimal ma'am to take over and address the participants present with us today. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon and thanks, Supriya, for giving me some time. And my dear colleagues from different parts of my country, India, and from abroad, welcome you all in this one-day webinar. And I welcome you on behalf of Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center. Let me share my presentation. Supriya, can you give me the control where I can do my screen share? Just
Sure, ma'am. Just give me a minute.
Co-host. You'll have to make me co-host for that.
You can go ahead, ma'am. I have made you the co-host.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my presentation, Mika? Yeah. Okay, so Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, maybe many of you are aware, but let me apprise the others also that it is a center of Ministry of Education, Government of India, under the prestigious Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. And I welcome you all on behalf of this, which is located at Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College, University of Delhi, where I am a faculty. And this scheme has been named in the honor of Bharat Ratna Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji at the national level. And at our institution level, we are seeking blessings from Guru Angad Dev ji, who is the second of the 10 Sikh Gurus. We have state-of-art training infrastructure and methodologies that our team has evolved over last decade working at the national level. And personally, I have worked in e-learning domain from last 25 years. So all the pedagogies, the digital tools, educational technologies, and how they have to be integrated with various subjects, these are the models that we are training and developing into. The center was inaugurated in July 2016 by the then Honorable HRD Minister, Smriti Zubin Irani. And since then, we have been working in empowering teachers through various workshops, faculty development programs, webinar, conferences, and many, many more events, including the faculty induction program, which is a flagship program of Ministry of Education and has been co-designed by our team. So all this is being done. We are also developing teachers e-kit as open educational resources, where teachers can contribute and earn the API also as per the latest Government of India norms by UGC Gazette Notification CAS 2018. And how we realize it is not the post-corona we have been working from. Now you can see in teachers training from 2016, but prior to that, in 2000, we started the formal journey of our team, where at national level we have contributed more than 89 courses. We have our own studio, a technical team, and 89 PG level courses are available in 4 quadrant format in these 6 subjects which have been developed at my center. And I'm happy to share that I have co-designed the 4 quadrant format for EPG Pathshala, and that has been now taken as a standard for the credit equalization and the 4 quadrant format of the MOOCs on SWAYAM. So all this content is available on inflibnet.ac.in. And not only these 6 subjects, you can benefit as teachers and your students in your classroom methodology, where you integrate these videos as flipped classroom, and all this content you can use freely from inflibnet.ac.in in more almost 77 subjects now. And much more work is being done. And in the next phase of EPG Pathshala project, it will be taken up that how the missing gaps will be filled up and some new courses will be added up. I am in the committee there as well. Out of these, around 42 MOOCs have been prepared, and 42 MOOCs are again record from our center in terms of quality and quantity. These 42 MOOCs are also available on SWIM platform, and they are like complete courses along with the quizzes and put up in a weekly structure and all. And again here, not only these 6 subjects, you can benefit from many others. And Government of India is doing very sincere efforts in taking the quality MOOCs to each and every classroom in the hands of teachers to empower them, and also the learners for the lifelong learning. So that's the spirit with which Government of India is working, and many teams are working to provide MOOCs at SWAYAM platform. So you can all benefit from that. Another center that I am handling is National Resource Center of Chemistry. Here we have the mandate of training teachers in through online refresher programs, so which is also a part of the promotional requirement for the UGC and AICT affiliated institution teachers. And these MOOCs are also available as ARPIT programs. ARPIT stands for Annual Refresher Program in Teaching, and all of you can enroll freely for these courses and get certification. There will be a examination at the end, and this year's ARPIT uh, enrollments are open till 31st December, so all of you can benefit from your respective subjects. And now post corona, we have been conducting various online activities, and in online activities we have been doing various activities on our own, and many activities in collaborative mode, like with IPM and many other institutions from across the country. And I am happy to share in the last 4 years where we have uh, the teachers who have benefited, the number is around 8,000. But since June 2020, when we actively started with the FDPs, webinars, and other activities, the number of teachers who have benefited is 42,000. So that's the quantum jump you can see in the terms of the reach we can go with ICT. So ICT should be used very extensively, and these are forming now the part of both that how the education scenario is changing, and the entire functioning of the corporate and other, and that's where the role of management also plays very significant. And the two webinars, this one was conducted around 15 days back, and this one, they are also now focusing on making you familiar about how the education and management sustain can be there through turbulent times. And so I welcome you all on this webinar on behalf of GADTLC, and I'm thankful to the eminent resource persons who have agreed to be part of this. And I will also like you to apprise and invite all of you to be a part of very happening event which we are planning together with IPEM group of institution, which is International E-Conference on role of human resources and organizational behavior for business sustainability in current scenario. So that is scheduled for 27th February 2021, and they can be abstract submission, research paper. There will be details of publication which will be shared by my colleagues from IPM. And I will also like you to invite into another very, very different kind of e-conference that we have planned, which is on teacher education generation next, the perspective, opportunities, and challenges. So, all my colleagues and teachers who are now in this corona time working out and experiment and coming out with new models, you can put up your publications and they will be taken up further, and the details will be shared by my colleagues. So, I invite all of you to participate in these two international e-conference. Do register in time. Don't miss this golden opportunity to interact with various speakers, and you all also can become part through the poster presentations and your contributions as abstracts in conference proceeding as well as in paper, proper paper publication, the details of which journal and all will be shared by my colleagues from IPM. So once again, I welcome all of you in this sunny afternoon, although chilly, but yes, very, very good weather here in Delhi. I'm sure different parts of our country and across the globe, they are having different weathers. So let's get started with today's webinar. So over to Bhumika. Thanks to call me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for collaborating with us for the conferences as well as for making the participants aware about it. Moving on further with the program, we have with us today Dr. Buddhadev Ghosh sir, who is the scientist in the Economic Research Unit of Indian Statistical Institute and is also the head principal investigator in evaluation study on border area development program and Manrega of Planning Commission Niti Ayog, Government of India. We welcome you, sir, to present your session with us. Over to you, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
sir. Yes. Can you listen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So let me go on presenting. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You are visible. I'm just making you the co-host so that you can present your presentation, sir.
Okay.
So it's done.
Okay. So I can open my slides now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you IPM for inviting me to speak on such a topic on which I do not think I have much comment, but I have journeyed my life through ISI, IIT, and some foreign countries, also in IPFP, studied a lot, published a lot on empirical world. But this topic, in this topic, particularly relating to future of education management and new international economic order, it is very difficult to predict with certainty as far as my knowledge on statistics and forecasting goes. So I am indebted to your institute. I have done the work with Dr. Nitu Mourjo, and I have taken the resources from my papers and other papers in ResearchGate, Google Scholar, and others. So let us keep some slides because my time is limited. As we have studied, it is better speak less on COVID-19, as most conjectures are exploratory, media tactics, business motive, particularly because $1 trillion vaccine market for the first mover. As written in Rig-Veda 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, there was actually neither non-existence nor existence. There was neither the realm of space nor the sky, which is beyond. What stared, where, in whose protection? Was there water, bottomless deep? There was neither the death nor immortality then. So if the history of time is like this, as recorded in Rig-Veda, and what to discuss, what not, are very complex questions on this topic. Even then, the human and natural world as we see today have evolved over millions of years as a default choice of Mother Nature. And humans have not created anything spoiled all. Let us briefly navigate the recorded history. So I am coming to now today's agenda. Pandemics in history. Is it the result of human transgression? All the disasters, including earthquake, cloudburst, cyclone, flood, all are not controlled variable by humans. They are strangers like COVID-19. Then pandemic, Corona, COVID-19. Then mass murderers in world history from Alexander to Mao Zedong. Then hunger, death, food shortage, wastage, health expenditure. Then expenditure on arms and ammunition, death from environmental pollution. Then worldwide economic disaster, global economic crisis, future challenges, crisis in Indian economy and how to deal with it. Direction towards new world order, China versus the democratic countries and role of multilateral agency. See, epidemic, pandemic. As it appears now, it will take quite some time to develop a foolproof vaccine. However, one thing is clear, that the COVID-19 traveled by flights from China across the world. Here lie many caveats about its origin, purpose, spread, and endgame of the story. Thousands of genetic sequences of the virus have been uploaded to the open database forum Next Strain, which shows how the virus is migrating and splitting into new but similar subtypes. According to Natural Geographic documents, the virus is mutating on an average in every 15 days. This makes it further complicated to finalize the vaccine. Moreover, development of a vaccine involves many stages, like testing from the mouse to apes and humans, which takes quite some time, normally 4 to 5 years. There's also the risk of DNA disaster if we accept vaccine. The latest scientists across the world are giving this caution. After all, it's all business, wealth and power by humans, as if they will live here forever. Happiness has no place, only enjoyment. You see, pandemic history, as far as recorded, is very interesting. 3000 BC, prehistoric epidemic, not much record. Plague of Athens, mostly recorded 430 BC. 165 to 80 AD, Antonine plague. 250 to 271 AD, plague of Cyprian. 541 to 542, plague of Justinian. 14th century Black Death in Europe. Then 16th century cockle-tigil epidemic, 16th century American plague, it was very dangerous. 17th century Great Plague of London, 18th century Marseille plague. Then again, late 18th century Russian plague. Then late 18th century Philadelphia yellow fever, that was dangerous. Then 1889 epidemic, this is flu, this was a flu, new flu first time came into human knowledge. Then 1916-17 American polio. Then the most famous so far before this COVID-19 was the Spanish flu. Huge people died, 1,000 times more than this COVID-19. But during that time, there was no flight, no tourist movement, no cross migration across the country. So it was limited to very few countries and few regions. Then Asian flu, 1957. AIDS started from 1981. It came from some species of apes from Africa. Then 2009, this is swine flu. 2014, West African Ebola. Then 2015 onwards, this is Zika. You see, in this pandemic so far, if you count the deaths, so statistically speaking, statistics, what it reveals is interesting, but what it conceals is vital. From Alexander of Macedonia to Ashoka's Rock Edict 13, Mahmud of Ghazni, Bakhtiar Khilji, Genghis Khan, Aurangzeb, Napoleon, Joseph Stalin, Mao, Nazi dictator, Hitler, King, Leopold II, Hideki Tojo, Japan, Fidel Castro, they killed millions and millions of people. World War I and II alone killed 115 million. In Indian numerics, it is 11.5 crore. Nobody was penalized, nothing happened. Created by humans, just for power craze. The only positive outcome of the Second World War was the foundation of UNO, WHO, WHO, WB, World Bank, IMF, and others. They are great, influential, and effective organizations, but they have their limitations. In many occasions.
Sir, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Sir, I guess the presentation slides are not visible.
Oh, can you ask Dr. Nitu Mourjo?
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Neetu, I would request please share the slides which sir has shared with you.
Oh, okay. That will be better.
Yes, sir. Just give her a minute, sir.
Okay. This is page perhaps 8. This is page 10. Nitu, this is page 10.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, today I am at home.
Yes, sir.
You focus on the slides in the main screen.
So there are some like network issues going on. I guess ma'am will be able to do it in a moment.
Okay. So I should be waiting?
Yes, sir. Just 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
The screen has been shared, sir. I guess on page 10, sir was asking to move
Yes,
on.
yes, yes. Come to page 10.
Yes, I guess the slides are visible to all the participants now.
Now, okay. Now,
yes, sir,
okay.
Yes, sir, it's fine now.
Okay, now. So actually the World War I and II, more than 11 crore people died. The only positive advantage was UNO, World Bank, WHO, IMF was formed. These are great organizations, but in many occasions they could not deliver or perform their critical duties. It should be slightly reduced. Yes, expected of them. Interestingly enough, all the mass murderers in history, once should know it, that they were men. All the great bloodsuckers were men. There is none woman in the history of mass murder. This is very interesting. Next slide. Yes, this is pandemic. There are huge questions raised in Huffington Post, New York Times, Washington DC, Washington Post also, that is it a conspiracy or is it a natural outcome? Many people in Western world believe that this was man-made, but the impact is the helplessness of the developed nations, authoritarian, dictatorial, communist, terrorist nations versus liberal democracy. This is a crisis in civilization. Information hiding about COVID-19, territorial aggression, and spread of wild disease worldwide. Next slide. Next slide. Now see, one slide we have already advanced. Okay, let me start from here. Actually, the world spends more on arms and ammunition expenditures than on health. And death from environmental pollutions are many times more than this COVID-19. One of the greatest philosophers of our time, he's a very senior man from Canada. He is an astrophysicist originally. His quotation is very suggestive. Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that the nature he is destroying is this God he is worshipping. Available estimates show that 4.6 million people die each year from causes directly attributable to air pollution. Many of these mortalities are attributable to indoor air pollution infiltrated through doors and windows. Worldwide, more deaths per year are linked to air pollution than an automobile accident. Poor coronavirus is nowhere near to the above death balance sheets so far we have discussed. Nitu, next slide. Next slide. Yes. Let us, no, just before that. Okay. Economic and social life in COVID-19 world. Isolation. Yes, that slide is better. See, no, before that, just before that. Yes. Most people in all ages. No, after that. I do not know. I cannot control from here.
Which one,
yes.
sir?
Yes. Keep here.
Okay.
Okay. Most people across the world in all ages, in of course modern times, they think that most of the human activity. No, next slide. Do not change. Next slide. most of the human activities, yes, please stop here for a few seconds. Most universities, institutes, even in ISI, we have made models from large data, and we forecasted, we predicted, we used futuristic model, some financial economic simulation models, statistical forecasting I have used a lot, but nowadays I see these are useless. These are useless because beginning from the Great Depression to bubble burst to this corona, nothing was predicted. I suspect what the great multilateral organizations had been doing so far. But what happened ultimately is that nature has its own invisible course of actions, unhindered, uninterrupted. Same case has happened. Everybody is thinking about himself or herself, his power, money, bank balance. But what a damage this small bechara, poor virus has done. Almost all common empirical analysis, even in ISI, avoids the outliers. Outlier means what is not in the estimates. Although there are two great, one of the greatest. Any problem? Any problem?
No, sir. Actually, some of the participants' mic were on. Not an issue, sir. You can continue.
Oh, again, a slide has changed. Next slide. Yes, please stop. Only 1 minute. See, two great statisticians, physicists come statisticians, Professor Cook and Professor Mohalanobis, they discovered distance statistics. Cook's distance and Mohalanobis' distance we have used a lot, and they have played an immense role in global disaster. Everybody studies the estimates. My colleague, my co-author also told me, but I told 5 tables can be captured in a single statement. Almost all common empirical analysis avoids the outliers, although Cook's distance and Mohalanobis' distance play immense role in global disaster management if one studies this seriously, because the outliers, in this case also the COVID-19, when it happened in December, at the time I was in USA, information was there, but nobody cared because this was not the mainstream, this was outlier. History is loaded with proofs that unbridled power by any ruler or family-based power has fragmented and ruined all kingdoms, all countries forever. Greece to Roman Empire to Persia to Arjavart to USSR. What next we do not know. Now third, the growth puzzle in MIT they studied in early 70s, nobody cared. Growth craze has replaced the path of sustainability and intergenerational equity. Next slide, Nitu. Next slide, we are coming direct to the topic now. Yes, you all know, I am not going to repeat because 5 tables. Okay, this slide. You all know that isolation is happening, everybody is suffering, jobs are lost, historic lockdown, stoppage of daily wage earnings, mental depression, and domestic violence, millions of layoffs, increase in global poverty and inequality, including in India, sports, culture, everything is off now. For what cause? Just a despicable, poor, small, microscopic virus, dead cell. Next slide. Yes. For a few minutes, we should teach ourselves about what is economics, what we are taught. This is Mark Bloch, one of the greatest economic historians of the world. Modern economics is sick. Economics has increasingly become an intellectual game played for its own sake and not for its practical consequences for understanding the economic world. Economics have converted the subject into a sort of social mathematics, in which analytical rigor is everything and practical relevance is nothing. This is Bertrand Russell wrote about 90 years ago. Truth is of 2 types. Truth of reasons, that is morality. Truth of fact, that is our practical world. But unfortunately, history has shown, pandemic also has shown, that truth of fact is stronger than truth of reason. So human species do not care for idealism. Power rules supreme. Gautam Buddha is redundant now. And I have seen teaching many universities, including ISI a long time and IIT for short time. In Japan also, economics courses taught in our world, the LDCs, are those of the developed countries. This appears very maverick, but I am not a rebel. So I have seen, of course, there is what is called development economics, which is also swallowed to us by them. We will go to Paul Krugman very soon in next few pages. Countries having high dependence on international trade and balance of payments, as well as tourism, will suffer the most, as you know, from this COVID lockdown. Autarky versus the open economy. India till 1991 was an autarkic economy, self-sufficient, not much dependent on outsiders. But that historical trend is still there. So India is suffering relatively less. And particularly for the region that tolerance is extreme in India. Go to next slide, Nitu. Next slide. So nothing is known for sure in post-COVID. Okay, economic impact, India. Okay, stop here. In very brief, if I could represent this with empirical table and data, it would take 25 pages, but statements are at the end of the conclusion of any hypothesis testing. So I have written these. The best and worst advantage of India is that 94% people in India earn their livelihood from informal, unorganized, unregistered sector. The best is that it does not largely fall under the purview of urban organized closure and lockdown. The worst is that rural to urban daily labor migration and overall urban labor market are in doldrum. Migrant workers across the country are in dangerous struggles. Private sector layoffs will cause long-term unemployment problem and transitional chaos, which nobody knows how to resolve it. Even no Keynes can solve it. What he did for Roosevelt in 1929 get replaced on. States dependent on tourism such as HP, Uttarakhand, Kerala, Sikkim, Gujarat and South Indian states will suffer generically until there is a new normalcy. When it will come, we do not know. If I say that I know it, that is a bluff. States such as West Bengal and Bihar, which are now dependent primarily on agriculture, are less susceptible. Indian education system with a student strength of 32 crore, that means 320 million, this is exactly close to US population, is going to suffer in coming years. Particularly because this online education system is available in big and medium cities and in families which are upper class. But in India, my own study are there in MOSPI, NSSO, and also these are in ResearchGate and Google Scholar, that more than 75% Indian students fall in lower class. Only 4% gives income tax, you understand the meaning. And class teaching so far does not have any feasible substitute yet. So this will continue to trouble the students of India. Next slide, Nitu. Next slide. Yes. Except that, this is very crucial part, except that trading dependence on China. No, before that, yes, stop here. Except the trading dependence on China, which is going to be replaced by Government of India and has already started intervention in medium term, India has better resilience. Government of India has already infused rupees 20 lakh crore. This is not a matter of joke for the revival of the economy. But here is a question. Honest governance is the key to India's positive response to COVID-19 as a result of rupees 20 lakh crore. This is a huge amount of infusion in the economy. Honest governance. 12. Issues of healthcare sector will remain real threats for quite long in a country with majority people not having any social security or private insurance. Extreme tolerance of the Indian culture may be an advantage. Atmanirbhar Bharat, banning dependence on others may help a bit. Policies for reviving the economy, this is rural, not the rural sector, urban sector is of paramount importance now. Because most informal sector are in the outskirts of the urban cities. Support for agriculture and other related activities are absolutely necessary. Nitu, next slide. Next slide. Yes, here is a picture. This will interest you in IPM and other people. Just before that. Just before that. Just before that. No, after this. After this. Just after this. Yes, please, please. See, I have found, searching from Google and other ISI sources, that World Economic Forum, the top site, then United Nations, then Forbes and all other sites, they have noted that the first, this slide is enough because everybody has written the same tone. While countries are at different points in their COVID-19 infection rates, worldwide currently 1.2 billion children in 186 countries are affected by school closure. With this sudden shift away from the classroom, some are wondering whether the adoption of online learning will continue to persist post-pandemic, and how such a shift would impact the worldwide education market. Nobody knows for sure. Even before COVID-19, there was already a high growth and adoption in education technology, with a global edtech investment reaching $18.66 billion. In 2025, it is going to be $350 billion. But you can go to the next slide. This is UN Charter. That majority, you can go to the next slide. Majority of the students across the world, they fall in, yes, the crisis is worsening pre-existing education disparities. This is the point. By reducing the opportunities for many of the most vulnerable children, youth, and adults, those living in poor or rural areas, girls, refugees, persons with disabilities, and forcibly displaced persons, to continue their learning. It is very difficult. This threatens to extend beyond this generation. So that means it will continue for quite some time and erase decades of progress. Third, closure of educational institutes hamper the provision of essential services to children and communities, including access to nutritious food. This will affect the ability of many parents to earn and increase the risks of violence against women and girls. Next is OECD. Same problem. We think that European countries are doing better. Not at all. This OECD's report is dangerous. To have 2020 very latest report. Then in many countries, particularly Eastern and Southern Europe, they are closed and families are not able to maintain online education. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. Yes, the same thing. You can avoid this slide. Next slide, you go, because all the sites have written. Yes, this is United States. This is a great suggestion for management people. Following are the tips for ensuring employees have the tools and support they need to be productive, effective, and connected while working remotely, that is from home. Prioritize health and wellness. Build the right infrastructure for the virtual workplace. Combat productivity engagement pitch with virtual cultural initiatives. Explore alternative work sites beyond home and the office. Treat communication as a two-way street. You are all taught these in textbooks. These, I say, textbook ideals, but collective spirit and cooperation are at stake in post-COVID world. Everybody has become risk averters, even with higher education. So it's impossible to predict the long-term implications of today's sudden massive shift of lifestyle in the world. Next slide. This is Forbes. Same thing they have written, but they are also very sorry. The pandemic has caused tremendous disruption in lives and business. Human resources, HR, is key to supporting companies and catalyzing changes in the workplaces. They have written this. Then second point, the issues are complex, including employee support, leadership development, pay and benefits, and shifts and strategic partnership across the organizations. Here are some suggestions given by them. Systemic thinking, company culture, leadership, talent strategies, social capital, engagement, inclusion, holistic well-being, work life, employment compensation, benefits, etc. Everything they have written, but ultimately they have written who cares for these textbook preaching. Next slide. This page you read seriously. I am just going to read out. This is one of the greatest economists of our time, MIT student of Paul Samuelson, Paul Krugman. I met him once. He came to ITC 20 years ago. I somehow managed to meet him. And he has written many things. This book is Development, Geography, and Economic Theory. You read. 1. Who cared for John Kenneth Galbraith, Lester Thurow, Robert Mundell, von Thunen, Weber, Hertzman, Migdal? Out of these, 3 have got Nobel Prize, but nobody listened to them. They ignored geography. This is a case of geography, from COVID to AIDS geography. So what is it that makes some ideas acceptable while others are not? Krugman has given the answer. The answer is that to be seriously, an idea has to be something, I cannot read it. The answer is that to be taken seriously, an idea has to be something you can model itself. Mark Bloch, this is quotation that is Krugman written. Mark Bloch in his magisterial survey of economic thought describes the neglect of economic geography as a major puzzle, because economics of location would be neglected simply because it failed to get into the curriculum a century ago. Like geologists who could not really look at where mountain ranges are located because they knew that they had no model of mountain formation. So they could not model. Economists avoided looking at the spatial aspect of economics because they knew they had no way to model that aspect. Economists can often be remarkably obtuse, failing to see things that are right in front of them. So they are necessarily complicated things, but sometimes a bit of obtuseness is not entirely bad. Corporate managers, principal agent theory ultimately emphasize self-interested behavior and profit and utility maximization. So Krugman has written, like Homo sapiens, Homo economicus is implausible caricature. Next slide. And about UNO, WTO, WHO, WB, and IMF, they are facing the worst crisis for their survival now. This is a fight between defenders of the dying order and creators of those who are seeking democratic alliance in a liberal atmosphere. None of them could predict that the world was going to face history's worst crisis. Forecasting, statistical modeling, simulation will continue to be pursued in future. Irony of human fate. For the first time in India's modern history, India has come out of an autarkic foreign policy and taking international role. That is a great achievement since 1947. So India is not going to face any extreme danger in spite of having 140 crore people. Next slide. Next slide. So I hesitate to thank you. I am a no man to thank you for your huge tolerance, but I am giving again a caution. But this will happen very soon, but nobody is taking any soluble steps. As per Abdul Kalam's prophecy, this article came in a Spanish journal, and Abdul Kalam in the subsequent book mentions my paper and one of my colleagues in ISI that paper. As per Abdul Kalam's prophecy, the next world war is perhaps destined to occur for control of water and oceanic resources. I simply feel lucky to get this opportunity to present our information, knowledge, thinking, and wisdom with Dr. Neetu Mourjo. If we have hurt anybody's thinking, please pardon me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. for enlightening us with the current situation related with this pandemic and the economic effects on and the reforms which have been taken in India and its comparison with the other nations. We hope to have many such sessions with you in the future also, and we'll have a definite collaboration with you for some future any event that we will be conducting with us. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you. Namaste.
Uh, Moving on with the session, we have with us another eminent speaker, Dr. Praveen Kumar Sharma, sir, who is the founder and CEO of Uniskills of India Skill Development, Haryana, India. He's an educator working in the domain of communication skills, innovative learnings, and training for the last 13 years. He's also a blogger, editor in a journal, a poet, and master of various accolades. We welcome you, sir, for delivering your session to the participants present with us today. Over to you, Praveen, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I guess I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Right, ma'am. So we'll straight away go to where we should be going. I would say I'll call it a presentation. It has got, my friends, 24 slides. So these 24 slides are meant to take around 20 minutes as given to me. And I'm also thankful to Professor who has given me the start. So this is my first slide belongs to the speaker who was the first speaker today. So Dr. Buddhadev, this is your slide that I have taken, and you have given us what is going to be probably a solution, a resolution, or a thing that we have to keep in mind. So when I'm talking about education and management, so these are some things that we all need to know. We need to maybe follow about this thing also. So this is what I'll be using as the foundation stone for the presentation. And let me take you to this voyage of understanding education and management, or education management means education and management as two separate domains, or educational management also. I'm a teacher primarily. I believe that I'm a teacher. There's no other designation, or there's no other role that I want to be remembered as. That's the only one. So here we start. I can see 100 participants as well, so including me. Like, we also learn, unlearn, and relearn together. This is what it is, the beginning. The beginning is, see, we are talking about the sustenance of a business. Now, business is of two types now, and I'm also, I forgot to say one thing. We have got listeners and participants from different countries as well. So from India, it's a namaste and a hello, a salute to all of us. Every single human being who has been part of education has developed some kind of interest, some kind of willingness for this thing also. I welcome everyone from India. Sitting at home, I'm able to travel across the world with your help. So this is your mind, this is my mind at present. So this presentation that I'm going to show you, don't take it as something which is for you. It is being made for me, and I'm presenting it. If you like, if you feel that this sounds good to you, then you can be a part of my team as well. This is your mind, this is my mind, dear global citizen, who used to think when this 2020 came, or this century started, probably all of us, you and I, we were thinking we are going to win this world. Everyone is connected. So we went and our brain got some kind of things. We do have good things in our mind. As professor also told, the workshop also suggests this thing. We do have good things in mind, but these things are not getting used. These things are not getting adapted to what exactly we all need to do. So the first thing is called life skill. So the first thing that I'm talking about is life skill. So that is one thing. And one more thing, like, I guess I'm also looking at the YouTube stream that the organizers have placed very right. I guess you might need to get this presentation or the camera on the presenter as well. Like, I see, I just checked that the presentation slides have also reached, because yes, it is. Professor Buddhadev, I'll just, the spotlight is, I guess there is some mismatch, ma'am. We can correct it probably. I have started my cam also, but I am not able to see the thumbnail in the YouTube, so you can manage it as well. Now, see, this is one thing. We have got a need to have life skills. That is first thing. Life skill is what we all need to have, but we are not able to match it with our communication. The way, like global citizen I'm talking about, we need such four things that I'm talking about. Life management is required, governance is required in our institutions, universities, colleges, schools, home, society, community. We need to govern, we need to have an organized system, and there's one more thing which is called collaboration. But now what problem I have as the citizen of 2020 turbulent times, I know I have got four things as my requirement. I know I have got four 21st century skills, the things which are communication, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. Dear friends, these are called 21st century skills. Every 21st century person needs to have a kind of inclination towards them, but we have a mismatch. Like the four things in the brain are different and the four things we practice are different. So that is one thing. Let's start our main focus as well. Yes, it is. So yes. Now, sometimes you and I might feel, looking at the news from India, from other countries also, we can look at the news which is coming in the newspapers, magazines, YouTube, everywhere. In India also, we have got such situations these days. We need to have this understanding that there is some kind of a social disaster happening, and because of this natural disaster, whether it is a man-made, I'm also a product of nature, you are a product of nature, we are being governed by nature. So our nature created this disaster, or nature created this disaster? That is a question of questioning. But still a social disaster is happening. Education, if you feel, is an essential service. Education, if you feel, is something which is integral to life. Ask the policymakers, they haven't opened the institutions. So if you believe education is essential, then it has not been opened, so that thing goes under a question. So but today we are talking about two things. One is education, one is management, and this end is something on which I'll be insisting. For me as a teacher, for me as somebody who is trying to learn educational management, these two words are not different. I'm talking about educational management today. And yes, this is a new normal for me. For you also, probably it is. This is something that I have taken from Dr. Sharma's work. It says, for the teachers, I'm sure that there are teachers who are attending this webinar, this international meeting. There are people who are parents. There are people who are engaged with people into education. What we teach in these times when we are taking online classes, we need to see this particular slide, so you can have a look on it. Meanwhile, I'm also looking at the YouTube presentation, whether there are some queries also. What we teach to the students in these times can have secondary importance. Don't worry, what you teach with the research that you are giving in your slides to the students might not be that important. The most important thing for now is they will remember not the educational content delivered, how you made them feel in these hard times, your empathy, your research area. All these things are going to be like something which is going to be a very which is going to be a thing of concern for everyone. So that is one thing that we'll be moving on. So here it is, I'll just move. And I'm also requesting the technical team to put the camera on the YouTube live also. There, like Professor Buddhadev's image is coming there, and then the slides are coming. So that seems to be a mismatch. Now I'm talking about solutions also. Let me give you, in these turbulent times when people are struggling, don't rely on technology. If you believe that technology can save education, and then you believe that management of technology, that the management people are telling all of us that let's bring technology, let's use this technology or that technology, there's a delusion. You can't do it. Technology cannot save education. How can it save education which has been created by it? Education, and even education cannot save us. That is what I believe. Learning does. It is not possible. If you do not learn, there's no use of having the degrees or the bundle of papers. So this is something. And there is one more thing which says that suddenly we all are making this realization, wow, online education is something which is a savior. So my friends, it has always been there. We are suddenly waking up to the importance of education. However, we could have avoided this thing. It could have been avoided. Means we could have avoided the fascination for technology, and we could have kept learning as the primary thing. But we look fascinated. And when we are talking about sustaining in these tough times by managing education, we need to end the fascination for technology and we need to start making a good use of it. Now, I'm presenting to you 4 different parties or 4 different stakeholders anywhere in the world. These 4 people, these 4 angels can do a wonder. So at present, I have got my own world which knows everything about educational technology. I've got my students who need to have 2 things. Now, what do you need to deliver them through educational management or education and management to sustain in their life, in their career? You want them to sustain with good health. You want them to contribute to good things in their country for the world. You want them to be good community leaders. You want them to be good speakers. So they need to have 2 things. Your students need 2 things in this new normal. They need to have knowledge and they need to have the competence to use that knowledge. So the third thing is teachers. Now, teachers, my dear friends, I can salute you all. You are wonderful human beings. You are the warriors, actually, who are not labeled or declared as warriors, but we have kept the fundamental function of cave to city life and civilized life. The humans, they came out of the caves. How? Because they got education. They turned conscious about the things which were happening around them. So what is that? Warriorship. And one more thing which is there, the fourth door opens, and that is about parents. So they are in a fix. They don't know like how to do. They don't know how the online teaching is going to teach. They are questioning the schools and the colleges for fee also, and then some more things. This is a concept, quite interesting thing, that we all have probably understood, but now you can give it a name. Globalization, that is one thing everybody knows. We started hearing this thing after that 19th century, and then global world, global village. But now borders are shut, and every place is restricted to the citizenship of a place. Internationalization and omnipresent learning, which is everywhere. So these 3 things: globalization of education management, internationalization of educational management, and omnipresent learning have changed. All these things have changed what? The governance of educational institutions, it has changed. Methodologies of teaching, that these everything has changed. The nature of teachers, the nature of learning, the nature of content has changed, and the scope. A person who is going to do a degree in engineering was supposed to be an engineer only, but now the scope has changed. I'm a master's in English, but I am taking something which is in educational technology. I might be a master's in maybe Spanish, or I might be a master's in some fashion designing, but I might end up teaching something else. So the scope has changed. Online learning and offline learning, there's a mixture of it. So whenever you are going to talk about the 2020, the turbulent times, the sustenance, the sustainability of business and management, or education and management, do keep in mind education is going to remain a hybrid model in which online and offline learning will remain at the same place in the same institution. So that is one thing. Now, this is something that I love to talk about. I got it from Professor R.C. Sharma. He presented it in a training, and then I got connected to it. Your world, my world is a VUCA world. Now, what is VUCA? VUCA. Let me tell you. The first is it is volatile, means it is explosive. It's about to blast. That is one world. It is uncertain, and I guess you will agree this is an uncertain world. Complex, like I do have a brain which is complex. I don't know whether I should believe the vaccine or not. I don't know whether COVID is going to end permanently or not. I'm not sure whether some other virus or some other endemic will come or not. I'm not sure whether the world will again start doing holistic collaboration or not, and then so on. So the fourth thing in the VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Ambiguous is not double speak. Like if I refer to 1984, the novel that we love to read, I'm not talking about double speak that I say something and I mean something else, but there is some kind of ambiguity. There's a meaning deficit, there's a connotation deficit, there's a trust deficit as well. So these are four things. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. The VUCA world. I'm handing it over to you so that you can also apply. Now, to the teachers of the world who are listening to us, watching this thing, You need to have the old tricks to make people educated, and you are going to make it a good part of their life, because the future which is going to come, you're going to prepare them for the future, keeping in mind the future only, not the past. So that is one thing. Alvin Toffler, I have kept his book also in my neighborhood. This man, he has written a trilogy about the future, so futuristic novels. Now he said one thing, he said the future always comes too fast and it comes in the wrong order. Maybe we never wanted to have the end of the world maybe in front of our eyes, but still we do have it, and we can't cease to be a fighter. So if I ask you one thing, how many of you are aware, or you have faced interviews and this question came to you, where do you see yourself after 5 years? Suppose this question was being asked in 2015. 5 years back, a question came in the job interviews, and the interview question was, where do you see yourself, Mr. Praveen, after 5 years? And Praveen had never thought that he would be sitting in his home and talking to people and working from home. Nobody had imagined this thing. So imagination doesn't work that way. But still, in 2020, we do have this thing in which the management of education is something which is supposed to change, and education is also going to change. I think so. We are going to be less bothered about the curriculum. And in 2020, my dear friends, sitting over a burger and or a ham and having the sip of your cold coffee or hot coffee, you might be asking, what did we learn from those times when the world was about to fall short of a solution? So that is one thing. Again, referring to education and teachers, this is the concluding thing that we'll be talking about: collaboration. So the word to be taken from my side is collaboration is going to help you and me solve this mystery of turbulent times, and we'll be able to sustain, we'll be able to survive in good education. So this is a model that I'm presenting to all of you: smart education, smart age, and management of education in a smart way. So the one thing, I'm not saying first, but one thing that you can do is planning. That is the basis of everything. I did plan how I'll be speaking, I did plan how I'm going to start, but though the planning happened just 1 minute before I'm supposed to speak, and I copied one slide and pasted there. So that's what planning is. We need to customize things. Another thing that you can see is another element is allow people to collaborate, allow people to take charge of things, and allow people to get the delegated work. You need to tell me how to swim, and for that thing you have to allow me to try my hands in it. Another feature, that another aspect of having sustainability in educational management or education is innovation. Innovate. The wheel is already there, you don't need to invent the wheel. So you don't need to discover a new wheel and you say, now this is square wheel that I have got. You need to find out something out of the things which are there in your hand. So innovation has to be your temperament, it has to be your appetite. So that is one thing that you will be having. Another thing which comes from the right side is the right thing called critical thinking, problem solving. Sit together, try to find out the logic behind things and take it to a logical, reasoning based solution. And then management is going to be a default product of everything that you have talked about. So now I'll move on to show you something, what kind of learner you are, or I am, what kind of learner your students are, what kind of learners you want to create in your classrooms, whether online, offline, whether you are in some other country, you are in India, you are in a province of the US, or you are in some city, you are in a village. You want to try to make them competent for the future skills which are not the 2015 skills, my dear friends. We are talking about critical thinking, people management, which used to be a natural feature of anybody who is elder to you and me. Professor Buddha Dev will agree to this thing, because he does have it by default. Naturally, it is part of their life, that people management, public relation. But now we need to train students in it, because they are not social. They are not anti-social, but they are not that social. They are in a social dilemma, as the movie shows, mad about PUBG or social media. Negotiation, cognitive flexibility, cooperative learning, creativity, all these things are required. So we can sustain, we can save the world, even in these turbulent times, if we focus on 2020 rather than focusing on the old one. So these are some competencies that you should be focusing in. The will and the skill has to match. So the foundation is of the will and the rise, the incremental change that we all are hunting for in the whole world. That we change is not a good thing. Means change cannot always be positive. Change has to be incremental, which takes you above the previous mark, and then you see there is an improvement, there is a value addition. So this is something that I have presented. You can be a learner. Either you have to be a better learner, or you have to be a fast learner. And the moment you become a better learner, you cannot be avoid being a fast learner. So these are two types or two attributes which are required in your students to have good management. Every single manager has to be a better learner now to manage the tough times. This is something that I'll be reading, and I'll try to read it. Means I want to read it so that it becomes part of my own mindset. It says, the pandemic has drained me as a teacher. I did face the trouble of asking my students to say, will you please start your video cam so that I can see you, or will you respond to it? So it says, the pandemic has drained me as a teacher. I have scrambled to do things that I hardly had preparation and expertise for. I've also realized that the pandemic has stretched me as a teacher. The last several months have been pedagogically, it's invigorating, means sort of empowering myself, as I have been pushed out of my comfort zone to search for the experiment with new approaches to teaching. Here is the solution. You need to move away from pedagogy to a higher ground, which is a bit away from your comfort zone. And believe me, you'll fall in love with the new comfort zone as well. Your resilience, your compassion, and your technological literacy. You are no more what do you call it, digital immigrant. You are a digital native now, because you have been here for the last 2 decades, and then you know things. So here is the person who has been speaking for these few minutes, or 20-30 minutes, I would say. I'm really thankful to every single one who has been there listening and watching. I'm wishing you a good, healthy Christmas of togetherness as well, in which we all have our loved ones with us. This is a course that I wish to share with all of you. We have recently launched it. This is podcasts in education. We will be sharing the details with the organizing team as well. So this is one of the courses that we thought of, that we should bring some innovation, as well as we should bring the educational management phenomena in our mind, and should introduce teachers to something which is old and new at the same time. So do try to have some willingness or interest in podcasting as well. You can email me on the shared email ID if you have got any queries. We'll meet on Twitter, LinkedIn, or the blog on which I write is eklavyaparv.com. In Indian mythology, Eklavya is called the supreme learner. And being an Eklavya is a celebration in itself. Being a teacher is also a celebration. So I conclude my remarks now. If there is anything that you wish to talk about, you can. Otherwise, it's all your story, my dear friends. I'm not asking what's your story, but we all have a story to tell. So be the loving storytellers wherever you are in any part of the world. Thank you very much. God bless us all. So I'm stopping the sharing also. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such an interactive session. We all were like totally engrossed with whatever you spoke today, mainly about the role of education and management due to this changed environment that we're having right now, the new normal in which we have entered,
Yes,
and how
ma'am.
we need to change with time. So,
Any
thank you so much,
query or
sir.
something? Because I have tried to conclude within those 20 minutes I kept for the presentation. So like 2:50
I hope,
to 3:11. So
yes.
anything that
Okay.
somebody wishes to ask or you wish to.
If any of the participants would like to have any question from Praveen sir, can post it in the chat box so that sir can answer. Okay, so right now I don't think so. People are like having any query. I
That's the
just
trouble. I'll say that's the
yes, I
troubling
just
thing.
enjoyed the session so much.
We don't have questions questions. So we didn't question anyone in the past also. So I wish that we all have this urge to ask questions. Like the children, they don't think twice before asking anything. So I'll say be brave to put up questions which trouble the so-called experts like us. If anybody has a query or question, do trouble us. So I wish Wasim Saab, Salam. Thank you very much for being here. You're just in the neighborhood, I would say, the next door friend for us.
Okay, so one question
yeah.
has popped up.
Mm,
To what extent the new educational policy will be implemented in
Done.
India,
Done.
schools, colleges, and
Now
universities?
I'm ready for this question. I would say we are in a phase of transition. That is one thing nobody can say anything about it. It is a great challenge that a new education policy can get implemented. The word is implemented. It can get introduced. So the word, I would say, the government or anyone or even me, I should not expect any implementation of the policy, because there is a big bridge to be made. There is a gap, and it's not about India, any other country. We do have a gap that haves and have nots, reached and unreached. So the new education policy will be implemented to a very limited extent, and I'm saying it with my own observations. I would say it's not a policy statement from anyone, but it can be, rather than implemented, it can be shared. So that can be a thing, sir. There'll be limited things, because we do have first tier, second tier, third tier cities and schools. So it will take time. So implementation is something which is tough. Introduction is something which is going to motivate every institution. It will change a few things, because career orientation is changing through the educational policy. So at least people will start mentioning career communication and employability skills. So that is the extent it is going to be implemented. What about those who don't have well technology support? Dr. Hasibul Hassan, this is what I just mentioned, reached and unreached. If I have technology, I should think of doing something which motivates others to reach the unreached, and I should also try to reach. Um, the category which doesn't have technology at all and they cannot afford it, let's not burden ourselves with the ethical question. Let's think of those who have technology but don't know how to use it. So first we should focus on those who have a phone in hand but they don't know how to make good use of it. They also don't have technology. So when you say that who don't have technology support, there are millions who have resources but they don't know how to use it. So I focus on that thing primarily. Would you like to share the feedback link? Yes, my feedback is here in your heart, so you can do this. Who is the most responsible? I would say nobody is responsible for things which are in the transition phase. So the responsibility is no one's responsibility. We do have something, and the policy has come now. The teachers have already been doing it. Teachers have been talking about good things. So the policy has come. So you keep on doing your work. The government will have the responsibility to give budgets when it is a matter of money. So yes, ma'am.
So on YouTube also there are certain questions popping up. One of it is how podcast helps in education.
Mm, so how would I say? Like I can do one thing. I can share a link. There is a website called eklavyaparv.com or EdTech Review. We have recently launched the course for the same thing though. So what I'm doing, ma'am, on the because if I post a link, the link will not be opened by anyone because I'm not the host of the moderator of the YouTube chat. So I've shared a link here which is talking about how to take advantage of podcasting in education. So this article is something that I had written, and I guess they explain everything. Otherwise, I'll end up deviating from the topic as well. However, podcasting is based on listening, which is the fundamental faculty of human beings. So it is affordable. It helps in digital well-being also, and podcasting is a rising domain. So anyone who starts podcasting into education will be the pioneer. This is what I can say. I've shared the link in the chats. G.
Okay, so I guess we have some time constraint with us. So
No problem.
more questions we would like people to join with you on the links that have been shared by you, and your email IDs also people can contact with you for any kind of discussion, I hope.
Yes, ma'am. I'm answering a few questions on YouTube also that I'll be doing simultaneously, but we can move ahead with the conclusion of the session as planned.
All right, sir. Okay, for concluding the webinar today, I present a vote of thanks to our distinguished speakers, participants from various countries, the management of our college, and for this, I would like to call our head of management department, Mr. Shashank Chaudhary, sir. Over to you, Mr. Shashank, sir.
Thank you so much, Miss Ekta. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I feel privileged to have this opportunity to present the vote of thanks to such luminaries of education, world, and academia at international level. We at IPM are really privileged to have the presence of Dr. Praveen and Dr. Buddhadev, who have spoken so well and have enlightened us in such an insightful way. All of us were so engrossed throughout the presentation, and I was reading that many of the people were asking for sending the PPTs so that they can go through these slides, these knowledgeable content in a much meaningful way in the coming time. So really a big thanks to Dr. Buddhadev and Dr. Praveen for sparing the valuable time for us for this particular webinar, and we hope that in the coming time also, as and when we will be hosting some events related to sustainability, education, management, economics, and we will be having your presence also and benefiting the occasion as such. And then we are really thankful to all the participants, the people all over the globe. We had more than 600 registrations for this particular event, and all the continents have, the people from all the continents have registered for this event, and many of them have participated, attended this webinar today also. So we are really thankful to all of you, and the information related to the upcoming international conferences of management, that is on 27th February, and the international conference on education, and that is on 18 March. The content information related to these upcoming conferences will also be shared with you today evening itself. And we hope that you will be participating, you will be presenting your papers, and you will be making these these conferences real success, attending these conferences in the coming time. And no event can happen on its own. It is always the blood, sweat, and hard work of the conveners, the people who have made it success. I would like to thank Ms. Ekta, Dr. Neet, Senior PM, along with Dr. Chauhan, to their hard work and contribution and effective collaborations. And last but not the least, we are really thankful to the management of IPM Institutions, which is founded by Dr. B.S. Goel, who was a academician par excellence, had more than 50 years of teaching experience all over the world. So we are really thankful to IPM for making to the management of IPM for giving us this platform so that we could all connect at the international level with each other and enlighten ourselves through the masters of academia. I would say Dr. Praveen and Dr. Buddhadev again. I really have this feeling that today I was just so much engrossed with the presentations and the content being shared. I felt like that I was watching some a truly international and global level conference being part of. So I hope that in the coming time, we would be hosting such type of events in the coming time also at IPM and have your participation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Again, I would thank everyone for joining us today. The participation certificates will be provided to you. You will be filling up the feedback form. The link has been shared with you on the Zoom chat box and YouTube chat box as well. You participate in the upcoming through website will shared with you. So conferences that are upcoming in so as per the theme the sub-themes you can present conferences and have good public